Welcome back. My name is James Johnson. This is my lovely mother, LaDonna. We have read the first 5 books of the Song of Ice and Fire series, and seen the first 7 seasons. The new season will begin in about a week and a half, and we are talking about this last season. We haven't made any new videos recently because we didn't want to make anything that wasn't important to us. So we're here to talk about the title you've read. So start off by saying Cersei's pregnant. Cersei's pregnant. She has a child within her. She tells Jaime that she's got a child, and Jaime says, "Who will you say is the father?" And she says, "You." Prior to that, we watched Jaime and Cersei have sex, and in that scene, Cersei blows Jaime and then takes him to bed. And in the morning, she hears a knock at the door and gets out of the bed and goes to the door. And Jaime's like, "Don't," and she answers it. And the person who is now a repeat character, as a matter of fact,
absolutely,
and reflects Cersei's outfit, sees Jaime in the bed.
And haircut.
So, just to cut to the chase, that is not Jaime's kid. The same scene, the same episode where Jaime and Cersei have sex is the episode where Euron brings the Dornish prisoners to Cersei as his gift. And she says, "What do you want?" And he says, "You know what I want." And she says, "You'll have what you want when the war's over." Euron even goes up to Jaime and says, asks him about Cersei. How does she like it? She like it soft? She like it rough? A little finger in the bum? To taunt Jaime. And almost that's a different scene, but almost immediately after that is when Cersei blows Jaime. So Euron, however you want it to map out, Euron and Cersei had sex. Cersei needed to show Euron that he was going to get something, etc. We also have it played out that Cersei has already slept with other individuals, specifically Loras in the books. Lancel, excuse me. Sorry, Lancel. That's an easy mistake to make.
It is.
Lancel. And Cersei, previously, Euron told Cersei, "I always dreamed of marrying the most beautiful woman in the world. And I have 10,000 ships and 2 good hands." I think it was fewer ships, but
now I'm going to bring my great big dick to her.
Give her my fat dick cock, whatever he said about Dany. So Cersei is pregnant with Euron's child. Jaime believes it to be his. Cersei says, "One more yet to come." Now, a lot of y'all are probably thinking this breaks the prophecy. So I don't have much to say about the prophecy and whether it's being broken or not, because it's already been broken in a way, because in both the television show and the books, Cersei said she had a child with Robert. In the books, she tells Ned, "I found a woman to cleanse me." In the TV show, she says that it died at birth.
She said it got a fever. This is the conversation between she and Cat when Brienne has fallen from the window.
Season, it's like second
so
episode.
We know the prophecy is broken. She had 4 children at least then.
And the response for somebody who believes the prophecy is still a real thing would say, well, that wasn't a real child born to her. So I'm going to side note this real quick. That child is Gendry. We already made a video about that. She did not want to have Robert's child, and to spite him, it's mentioned several times, Robert always went on a hunt when she was in childbirth. Robert wasn't there, and Cersei told Jaime to get rid of it. Jaime couldn't kill it. It's the huntsman, and Jaime took it to somewhere to be cleansed. Gendry says he remembers his mother visiting him when he was very young. She had blonde hair and sang to him, and was dressed and was some tavern slut. There's a scene in the books where Jaime sees Cersei sneaking around in tavern clothing
at Flea Bottom.
Also, it would be appropriate for Cersei to stop visiting Gendry once she had Joffrey, which matches the timeline. So, the reason I mention Gendry now is to say, if that's true, that also breaks the prophecy. But more to the point, this is true. The reason Ned knew that Joffrey was not Robert's child is because it had blonde hair. That will be a key to the end game. So let's do.
Is strong. And it did not have dark hair.
So let's go a little bit more into depth and make sure we've covered everything, justifying that this is Euron's child. Okay. Euron said he wanted to bring Dany his big dick, and he told Cersei that he wanted to be with the most beautiful woman in the world, the queen, and he said he would bring a gift to prove it. And then he brought the gift, and then immediately thereafter, Cersei does not seduce Jaime. Jaime, every time we've ever seen them interact, has been Jaime trying and Cersei either allowing him or stopping him. There's the scene when when Jaime, the first scene we ever see with them messing around is in the tower. They've already started. The next scene is when they're in one of the King's Landing rooms and Jaime's all over her and she's kind of pushing him aside. Then there's the rape at the grave side of the child.
In that one, he says, the war for Cersei's cunt.
The war for Cersei's cunt.
Don't forget that.
So when Jaime tries to have sex with Cersei at the
funeral pyre.
What's it called? Where you show the display, where you show the body, showing the body. And Cersei stops him and even reacts to the hand, etc. In the scene we're referring to, where Cersei blows Jaime. Oh, then there's the scene where he tries to seduce her and she says, no, not now. He says, then when?
It's been weeks.
It's been weeks. And she says, well, you took too long. What does that mean? Anyway, so long story short is there's been multiple scenes with him trying to have sex with her, never a scene with her trying to have sex with him. And in this particular scene, she goes out of her way to give him head.
And she finds him in the Kingsguard room where the white book is, and he pushes it aside.
That's the other one where she now no longer has, that's a different scene. That's a different scene. That's the one with Tywin. That's after she tells Tywin that Jaime and she have been sleeping together. And then she
that's right.
That is another scene where she goes after Jaime, but she has no one on her side anymore. She's just told her father that she's betrayed the family legacy. So it's set up for her to be pregnant, Jaime to believe it's his child, and for the first time in his entire life, out of 3 children he's had so far, this will be the first he's allowed to treat as his child.
Absolutely.
The only sliver of a moment he's had like that is when Myrcella recognized, no, I know what you're trying to tell me. No, you don't. Yeah, I'm you and Mom. I'm glad you're my father. And then she fucking dies. So Jaime has never had an opportunity to have a child he was allowed to treat as his own child. This child to him will be the first. All right. Anything you want to add before we get into the final scene?
They even have an argument about, he says, keep your voice down when the snake gets sent to them with the locket. Keep your voice down. And, she says, what do you care? You've never cared about the children. He said, if I cared about them, they'd be dead, Cersei. I have to keep my hands off of them. They'll know they're ours. Yep. Only thing I'd add right now.
So, again, I said this in the last video. I want to reiterate it. We know that we don't know anything, that these are all just theory videos. It's talking about the literature and the tropes, the memes, the settings, the
things that make sense in a narrative.
Right.
Course.
So we know we're not right about everything, and we know we're not so much proposing that we know for a fact anything that we put on these videos. It's just ideas we've come up with, some of which we more strongly believe than others. Mm-hmm. So the more detail we get, the more likely we are to be wrong. So really what we're about to do is paint a scene, particularly me, and then I think because I'm about to do mine, and then you can change it up how you'd like. But the point of it is to at least, the reason I'm going so detailed is to emphasize the intellectual notes, the literary, the emotional points that could occur near the end. Mm-hmm. So imagine Cersei is in her own room near the very end, and the throne room, or potentially somewhere else like Harrenhal. It doesn't really matter in my opinion, but she's in a location where she is giving birth, and she believes the world is about to end. Whether that means her world or the entire world, she believes the world is about to end. Cut away from Cersei. You cut to Jaime popping in the room, and he finds Cersei, in my mom's opinion, on the throne, and beside her, the dead body of this baby. The baby will have black hair. Jaime will react emotionally to the fact that this child is dead. There are cats here. She's handling the cats. Jaime will react emotionally to the moment. And the fact that it's not Jaime's kid, Cersei will believe is a reason to justify her having killed the child. Now, she's going to kill the child, in my opinion, to save it. It's exactly what she did with Tommen, and it's what she planned on doing with herself and Sansa when at the Battle of the Blackwater Bay, that they'll potentially be killed by Sir Ilan Payne.
Mm-hmm.
But she also got a new poison later from Maester Pycelle,
Right.
or was it Pycelle, or was it
Qyburn,
to potentially use. But she almost killed Tommen in order to save him from the Hards. So in her mind, her hurting that kid, in my opinion, is not spiteful. It is not meant to be a bad thing. Jaime will not see it that way. And when Jaime reacts emotionally to the moment, Cersei's reaction is to try to justify it, to say, Jaime, you shouldn't have to care about this kid, and say, it's not yours. And here's where I'm coming from. One of the things that I think is extremely important. It would not matter to Jaime. It matters to him that she cheated on him, but he can't help that he loves her. All the horrible things she's ever done to him, he can't help but love her.
That's his line.
You
don't choose who you love.
He says it more than once. It's not yours. What do you care? Different. I would write it differently, but this is the general gist. It's not yours. What do you care? I don't care that it's not mine. You killed a child. We may even get some lines about, and this is just what you did with Gendry. And Cersei tries to justify to Jaime, and Jaime, this is when, whether spoken or implied, Jaime has a callback to Olenna calling Cersei, she's a disease. And that is a play several times. Somebody in the television shows, Cersei says it to Jaime about Tyrion. He didn't mean to kill our mother. All the same, a disease doesn't mean to kill you. All the same, you cut it out. There's several disease notes, but Cersei is a disease, and Jaime realizes that, and in the fervor of seeing all the horror she's ever done wash over him, and his realization that she is in fact a disease, as a child that is laying next to Cersei is dead, that to Jaime is his. And that's my point. He doesn't care that it's not actually his. He just wants a baby to call his own. For the first time in his life, and adoptions are hugely important in this. Jon was adopted. Theon was adopted. Sam has adopted little Sam. Adoptions are hugely important to this, and the antithesis of it too. Sam being treated as not the child of his father. Tyrion being treated as not the child of his father. These are very important. What does it mean to be someone's child? Was Jon the child of Ned? Not biologically, but he raised him as his own. Those questions are unanswerable. To Jaime, that is his child. It does not matter that it was not, he's not the biological parent. For the first time in his life, he's going to have a child he can treat as his own, and Cersei killed it. And all of the reasons that she's a disease wash over him, and he chokes her to death, and she dies right there, them alone in a room. And then watching her dead body, just like Tyrion having killed Shay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And he leans in for one last kiss and kisses her. Brienne enters. And he finds Cersei dead, a child dead, and Jaime standing there. Jaime is emotionally distraught for a litany of reasons. The child, Cersei, his regret, his knowing that Cersei is a disease the whole time. So many different reasons he's emotionally distraught, and not a word need be said for Brienne to empathize with him. If there's a single character in the books other than Tyrion that can emote with Jaime, it's Brienne. And through however you want to paint it, she provides support to him in this emotionally traumatic moment. Jaime may for the first time be crying. Brienne's got him in her arms, holding him. I like to picture that she leans in for a kiss on his cheek as merely a comfort thing. And when she leans back, there's a moment because this isn't a moment for a kiss of a sexual sort of thing. It can't happen. I mean, as many times as I've rolled this around in my head, if it were to occur there, it can't occur there in a sexual way. It must be a comfort thing, and kissing on the lips is not a comfort thing, even if it were this moment. Okay? But either way, you get this moment where Brienne is comforting Jaime, and Jaime is in a way cleansed. There is nothing tying him to Cersei anymore. She is dead. All their children are dead. And Brienne kisses him on the cheek as they're both traumatized in this moment and trying to comfort each other. And she leans back, and Jaime's nose is bleeding. And she begins to watch him die. And just like Myrcella, who couldn't speak in those last moments, Jaime's unable to speak. And Brienne, realizing that, just like Jaime with Myrcella, realizing that she's dying, Brienne says to Jaime exactly the same thing Jaime said to Myrcella. Her name. My name is Jaime. Jaime. Jaime.
That's the bath scene.
Yeah, that's what it says. That's the bath
exactly
scene
the bath
where
she grabs him up as he's dying.
Gods, the Kingslayer, Jaime. My name is Jaime. And when Myrcella's dying, he says, Myrcella? Myrcella? Okay, that's what I wanted to paint. And again, the more specific I get, the more issues I'm going to have being wrong. I'm probably wrong on a lot of that. But that moment of, and also in the books, it says, we came into this world together, we'll go out this world together. What would you like to add?
A lot.
Go for
but
it.
You did really great. With respect to the Brienne thing, it's going to mirror the bath scene where she walks in as he's collapsing and she grabs him up, and he doesn't have to say Kingslayer she doesn't have to say Kingslayer. All she has to do is go, oh my God, Jaime.
And it's not Sir Jaime, which is what she's been saying.
Yeah, and it's the same scene she had with Renly. I mean, essentially, she goes down and grabs him up in her arms, and there's nothing you can do. There's just nothing you can do. And, you know, it's been said a million times, poison is a woman's weapon. Everybody tries to pin it on Varys. But no, poison is it, because women generally, of course, this is not true of Brienne and Arya, but women generally are not strong or knowledgeable about arms and weapons. Poison is an easy thing to do and get away with it. I do think that scene is going to happen, and I'm not sure you said this exact thing. You alluded to it. But he is going to be the Valancourt. He is going to be the one who wraps his hands around her neck and kills her. And, you know, she always worried about the younger brother doing it to her, and she thought it was going to be Tyrion. But Jaime is her younger brother. He is the one, the twin that came in after her, holding onto her ankle. He is a minute or two younger than she is. So it's ironic and tragic that the one that he loved, and he didn't choose to love her. And if you look at the history and lore, I watched it recently for this last season 6. It says in there she went to him and seduced him about 16 or 17 to keep him at court. And then ironically, they got separated through marriage and Kingsguard. But she is going to kill him, and he is not going to know it. And he's going to choke her out, as you said, very similar to Tyrion's scene, and say, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. It's exactly what Tyrion said to Shay.
And they play the Jaime and Tyrion back and forth. Their dialogue is mirrored several times. One instance is where when Jaime is speaking to Myrcella, where he's trying to explain that he's her father, he says, what I'm trying to say very badly, which is a literal quote for what Tyrion said earlier. To add to the poison situation that you mentioned earlier, Cersei specifically uses the poison from the lips when she kills the Dorne child in front of the Tyene.
Yeah, and also we're not being jerks. We just read the books. I mean, you know, there are some things that are there. Brienne and Jaime are the definition of Shakespeare's star-crossed lovers.
Jaime and Cersei?
Well, actually,
Jaime
and Brienne, because they never actually consummate it. But
Jaime and Cersei.
Hold on. But the scene between Jaime and Cersei, and again, there'll be a variation on it. If it doesn't happen this way, I'll be really, really surprised. But regardless, the scene between Jaime and Cersei at the end is a very twisted Romeo and Juliet
And
scene.
and
they are the quintessential star-crossed lovers in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. I want to go back.
While you do that, we made that point in a previous video that Romeo and Juliet is about two houses juxtaposed versus this story, which is about a house against itself. Cersei and Jaime, they're in the same house, and they are both dead, one of poison, one not, and holding each other in a way. That scene, with the exception of Brienne, it appears as if they committed suicide altogether. Jaime, Cersei, and the baby.
It's not, that's a great way to put it, but it also is that Romeo and Juliet had a pure kind of love. They both did. Their houses were against each other, but both their loves were pure. In this one, it's not just that the houses are together. It's that one person was such a narcissistic sociopath, and we know why she is. I think she's a fantastic character. But Jaime really did love her. I mean, I don't think Cersei loved anybody. I think everything was a narcissistic extension of herself. But Jaime truly loved her. We don't choose who we love. And so you ever watch those fractured fairy tales? I'm a lot older than a lot of you guys, but they were wonderful. They took fairy tales and they kind of turned them on the edge. Martin turns them on the edge and twists them into a ringer. And so we have Brienne almost as a Ned Stark onlooker as she comes in to watch that tableau go down. And yet she's involved as the other pure lover, and they can never get it together. I watched her. I'm going to give a shout out to Cinnamon Blend. I think Sean's doing a great job. But he even says in a pretty early scene between Jaime and Brienne, kiss, come on, get it on. You know, it's so obvious the tension's there between these people, Brienne and Jaime, but they never can. And then, of course, we have the scene between Podrick when Bronn grabs him by the neck and says, "Do you think they're fucking in there?" And Podrick's like, "No." It's like he asked the question the audience is asking. Well, you think they're ever going to do it? And Pod's like, "No, no. How can they? How could Brienne ultimately end up with somebody who had an incestuous relationship with his sister? I mean, how much of the past can you put behind you?" Okay, I'm going to move on very quickly. As far as going back to the Cersei issue with Euron, I want to remind you all of a couple of things. If you'll remember in Blackwater, when Cersei's in there torturing Sansa as the war wages around them and saying the best weapon is the one between your legs, she says specifically to Sansa, if it were anyone but Stannis Baratheon, I would go out and meet him, but I would have better odds seducing his horse. This is what she did with Euron. She brought him there. She seduced him. She's pregnant. And it's going to be a literal shit show at the end. And we're all going to scream and cry. Also, last thing about the violence is a disease. Brother Ray said that to the Hound in a sermon before they all died. He's a septon that saved the Hound. Olenna says she's a disease, and I don't think you're ever going to escape her. It's such a shame. And, you know, Olenna, like Barris and Selmy, they speak truth. Listen to them. And Brother Ray says violence is a disease.
And Cersei says, I choose violence.
And Cersei says, I choose violence. So we'll see. We could be wrong. Y'all can argue all you want in the comments. We've dealt with it before, but I think it's a great theory, and I think it probably will happen. You do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You think you got a couple of other things here?
No, you covered them. Yeah. Hold on. Oh, and with respect to you talking about Jaime and the child, I don't know that he would love it as his own adopted child, but remember, Jaime killed King Aerys to save 500,000 people in King's Landing from Aerys burning the city. We've already seen what Cersei did. And he said, burn the children, burn the people in their beds. And if he is indeed, as our theory goes, the one that saved Gendry, he doesn't want to kill a baby. And there are a lot of themes in this show about even the children, the little children. They killed the children. Jaime's going to be livid that she did that to this job.
And to wrap that all around, our first introduction to Jaime in the television show, the first episode ends with Jaime pushing a child out of a window.
That's so ironic.
And the things we do for love. And it really ties all into each other.
But that was to protect his family. I mean, you can argue it was to protect Cersei and his children. But it's just fantastically, intricately designed and just beautifully done.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for watching.